We would like to call this meeting to order. Thank you for joining us tonight. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any needs for translation tonight?
Yes.
Doesn't look like it. Okay. Can I get an approval for the agenda tonight?
I would like to make that approval with the addition of election of board vice chair under board member discussion.
I
Okay.
second that motion.
I have a motion and a second for the approval of the agenda with an amendment to have a vote for vice president. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 4-0, my bad. We will go ahead and move on to student representative reports.
I think, I'm not sure if the students have a different report than the one from NSBA, but our plan is during superintendent informational items to have them join a couple of others to share their experience there.
Great,
that all right?
perfect. Okay, so we'll just move on to board member discussions. And we'll start out with our legislative report by Director Aaron Gerber.
Okay, we do have a couple things on the board today. Amy is coming up because she's going to help with some of these. So the first part we wanted to bring to your attention, this is a document that WASDA gave us last week in our recent meeting. If we can go to the chart that compares, okay. So this is as you all know, the legislative session is having right now. These are the two budgets that were proposed a few weeks ago. The Senate budget is there and the House budget. Now, the governor didn't approve either one, so they're kind of going back and discussing things more, but it was informational to see what they both proposed. And you can see that, well, for one thing, they're much lower than we would have liked, than that WASDA has been advocating for. And you can also see that the House was much lower in everything, and I think every single category. So they had talked about this in our WASDA meeting recently, just about the proposed budgets, and then I asked Amy to talk a little bit about how these decisions would affect our school district directly, and so that's what she's prepared a little bit for.
Okay, so OSPI provided a tool, and on the next, I don't know where to look. So if you look at the 24-25 baseline, that is approximately what we're getting in this school year. The next column is the maintenance level. That is mostly guaranteed money. That's the increases to IPD salaries and MSOCs. So that equates, you can see the increase in apportionment is about 2.98. 2.5 of that's probably going to be IPD salary, and the rest will be MSOCs. And then you'll see the CTE, the bilingual, highly capable, LAP, special education. Those are the grants that we get from the state. So that's what we're talking about now is the state. So maintenance level, comparing it, this year is about 58 million. With the maintenance, with the increase is about 59.6. If the House passes their budget, it'll be 60.2. And then if the Senate passes their budget, it'll be 61.39. Bottom line, what does that mean? We're going to get at least 1.58 million. The House, we would get 2.15, and then the Senate would be 3.34.
What does LAP help with?
LAP is for,
Range of things, primarily for people, though.
yeah. And one thing I want to point out too, I don't know if you can't hardly tell, but the ones that are highlighted in blue, CTE, highly capable, and LAP, the increases that we're getting, even if it's maintenance, House, or Senate, is not keeping up with the increases to the salaries of 2.5%. Just kind of wanted to bring that up to your attention. The net increase over maintenance, the new money, would be about 0.57 million if the House passes and 1.76 if the Senate passes. In the first line, the apportionment, like I said, anything that's above 2.5% increase is MSOC money. That's for material supplies and operating costs. So you can see in the House budget, it would be about 1% more than IPD, and then about 1.5% for the Senate. What the other big thing is, if you look at the bilingual, that one's gonna increase by a lot. So we'll have some bilingual money to extra next year, which is a good thing.
So again, neither proposition is definite, but it helps us see in the process like what they're thinking about, what's more of a priority, and so we'll see what they come back with.
Yeah, and this was comparing apples to apples with no increase or decrease in student count. So this is taking this year's student count and comparing it what it would do if we had the same number of students next year.
Is this the one where they lock themselves and they're not letting the public in to look at the budget that they're trying to have a resolution on? Is this the one?
Yes. The session ends April 27th, so right now they're,
Yeah, I think if I read right, is they literally shut the doors on the public and said it's gonna be an in-house deal, so how does that work? Do we just, at the end, get whatever they decide to come with and?
yeah. We'll get a final meeting and they'll let us know what the final number's in. The other thing on special education, the House, the increase would be 7.42, and then look at the percentage if the Senate. It's a 19% increase for our special education.
It means everybody call your representatives.
And it'll either be the House or the Senate?
Yes, the very minimum will be the maintenance level. Because every year they have to increase it for the increase in MSOCs and salaries.
Right, so like Director Pineda said, this is, it's still a time for advocating with our representatives that we need more money in this area, and they of course have a lot of difficult decisions to make with money here or there, but this is kind of gives us a breakdown of what we're looking at.
What I didn't include here was transportation, because that's gonna stay even. It was part of the big three, but that. they're
Yeah,
not
that
doing
one got
anything
shut
with
down pretty fast.
Yeah, that got shut down.
I think just one important thing to remember about the maintenance level, I believe that total increase is just below 2% if we got 5.963.
Yeah,
And the salary increases, which is the bulk of our budget, is going to be at a minimum of 2.5%. So to call it maintenance really probably isn't the right term. And even if it was level with the increases that are expected, maintenance across the state of Washington, if you went to a number of school districts and said, you're going to get what you got this year, most people are cutting staff, cutting programs. So even this investment at a maintenance level, it's
Doesn't work.
going to continue to be an issue. So, the Senate is being much more aggressive and probably trying to address the issue in a real way. We just don't know where it's going to end up. But don't get fooled by that maintenance number, and certainly we should appreciate any increases that flow through for students and staff, but not a great number.
yeah, like in the lab too, like it's mostly salaries. We're gonna increase salaries by 2.5%, but our funding's gonna go down, so.
Yep, so that's the update about the budget. Thank you, Amy,
You're
for
welcome.
preparing some of those for us. So, any
Great.
questions or comments about that, about the budget?
Sorry, could I add one thing for our student representative, actually? One thing with the rep report. Recently, we had 14 guys get certified welding in the high school, and they were actually asking if they could come present to us on the 28th, our next board meeting, if we could add that to the agenda. Yeah, that's all.
Yes.
There was one more piece of legislative report today. We got some new guidelines that were, now I am also not exactly sure what happened. Dr. Perez is going to explain some of this for us, but so the Office of Civil Rights and OSPI and WASDA adjusted some of their policies, and so some of the policies that we're approving today are adjusted based on those from the federal government, correct? So I was asking Dr. Perez about this today, so he's the one who's going to kind of explain some of this to us about what exactly happened and where that influence came from.
I think the best way to understand it is as the number of executive orders and changes at the federal level were coming out, and school districts in the state were trying to deal with the volume of that. One of the key ones in Title IX was around some of the gender-related issues, and what the guidance was: go back to 2020 policies and programs. That was what was expected. Your state could
federal.
meet standards, right, at the federal level. So the state of Washington said, all right, we need to go step back to 2020. Between 2020 and 2024, you all went through a process with WASDA where they reviewed all our policies and brought them up to Washington state level. And then the rules got changed, and now we have to go back to 2020. So your approval of the previous stuff, we're just going back to 2020 Washington rules.
So I got a real good question. So we just follow some federal laws, not all, just the ones that they care about? I mean, just how does that work? Well, today we are gonna follow that one, tomorrow's, I guess, where is it that we do, we don't? As a school district, are we just playing checkers and whoever's gonna not ding us enough, or
Yeah.
what's the deal?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. We're doing what,
And I apologize, I didn't mean us.
Yeah, I know.
WAS, I mean WIA, like, or
yeah,
OSPI, sorry, OSPI.
Right,
Where- Where are they gonna, where's their line of saying we're following state or we're following federal?
yeah. I think it's where the guidance and the law pushes them. So I think what has happened in Washington is they said, hey, this one's been in court. There's a decision that's been made. Here's what the judge said. Here's what we need to do. And they follow the law. And then we follow the law based on WASDA's recommendation. So the consistency is that we're going to follow the law, and that the guidance we're getting from OSPI or from WASDA, we're going to put that in front of the board. I think what the laws that contradict what is coming out of the executive in DC, those haven't been determined yet. And so Washington is saying, hey, pump the brakes until this gets decided, and then we'll fill you in. There's still a number of those to be decided. Certainly there's going to be more bumps in the next 3.5 years as these changes impact us at the state level. If what the planning is to rid us of the Department of Ed, and then it all becomes state controlled, we might have to go back to, and so if they give it back to us, we'll say, fine, we're going back to 2024 guidance, and you might be asked to approve them again at the level we had before. So I hope that we're communicating to folks that the consistency is we're going to follow the law at the moment. We're required to do that. I am as superintendent, and you are as board members. And the confusion about which law, courts are determining that. And we're trying to pay attention to what the courts say.
Thank you.
Okay.
And that's it for legislative report.
Perfect, thank you. Let's talk about District 2 vacancy. Have we had anybody apply for that position?
We have had a couple of individuals reach out and engage in a discussion about the position. We've researched their residents, and unfortunately, they are not in District 2. So currently, we don't have any candidates in that area. What we were hoping tonight to discuss in public is what are the expectations of this board, and what guidance would you like to give me and the district? I mean, there's a level of recruitment from the superintendent and recruitment from the board. I just think that there's a fine line that we want to be really transparent and clear with the public on, that this wasn't someone the district appointed or went and encouraged. Are we all contributing to that conversation? So if there are names of individuals that you would like us to reach out to, we would love to do that, because we do need some folks.
And we do have 90 days to do that.
We have 90 days. I think Marisa has the original timeline that we put out there. And so we were hoping to move forward next week with the application and interview process. I don't believe that's going to happen. But again, if the board is in the coming days wants to provide some names for me to reach out to and offer them an opportunity to come in and learn about the position, perhaps come in with one of you. If folks have reached out to you and asked about the process, we'd love to call them and tap them on the shoulder and see if they're interested. I need a little bit of guidance on this board's expectation. Do you want me to go out and find someone and be a little more aggressive, or would you like me just to be available to people who you might send our way?
So for me, it was, when I came in asking that question, there's a couple of people that have reached out to me, and I know that the map is on our website. We could not find it, and we were there last night on Sunday. Now, Marisa knows I'm not the most tech-savvy person in the world, but I want to say my wife and a few other people were there, and they still could not find it. So maybe making it easier, put it on the front page, throwing it out there, big tab. Good Lord.
The
That is horrible.
even the access to the map, though, I will say this. It's challenging to understand that map and the zooming in and out. What Marisa and I actually did last week is we hopped in the car and we drove the boundary of District 2, trying to brainstorm who lives in this area, who might be interested, who have our principals told us about, who have we connected with. We haven't knocked on any of those doors because we were waiting for this conversation. And again, if you're comfortable with us doing that and saying, hey, we'd like you're someone who's expressed an interest in the work of the school district, we'd like your voice to be part of this. Are you interested in being a candidate? We can certainly do that. And if you give us names of folks, we can reach out to them. I think the other part of this conversation that's going to become a concern for the district is in May, folks need to decide if they're going to re-up for November. And we want to make sure that we have a pool of candidates to fill all 5 seats. And so a couple of things are kind of crashing together here rather quickly.
4 seats.
Well, 4 right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you want to amend the Constitution to go down to 4?
I think
he
I'm
won't
already
be up
in
for
4. I don't
re-election.
have, mine isn't up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to fill 4 positions.
Exactly.
Well, kind of like you said, I think none of us, we were all, you just waiting to see if we got anyone, not to be impartial about things, just to, but that's how I got here, was a board member reached out to me and said, would you be interested? So now that we haven't gotten any, maybe it would be.
And
Time
I
to
think
start
a
doing
lot
something
of
like
it
that.
has to do with, like I said, they're not familiar with the boundary. At least for the 2 people that I talked to, or they reached to me, was they didn't know. I would like to give it another, till the next board meeting. I'd like to let it be from somebody who wants to come and do it, instead of maybe egging somebody on or going encouraging. I know we talked to a lot of people. I just think it's a big commitment. So I'd like for them to be able to be part of their decision as well, not just us over there, pushing.
We did move it to the front page and highlighted the vacancy.
Thank you, Mike.
If it's not, I mean, at least I heard from Azaro, and I saw a head nod at least one. If there's not any interest in us knocking on doors, are you comfortable with us putting out another social media blast
Yes,
and encouraging
yes,
people, and then
yes.
asking them to reach out?
Yes.
And so we'll go ahead and do that and try and be a little more visible with it.
And we'll hand out the names of the people that have reached out to me, and that way you guys can verify if they're in that area or.
Okay. Let's move on to our DOHS site visit on April 21st. Does anybody have any questions about that? My calendar says it starts at 8. 9?
Yeah, I do want to describe a little bit of the subtle differences with this site visit. Principal Tovar reached out to me. We've talked yesterday and today to confirm the style of this one, because it is the last session at Desert Oasis. It's primarily going to be an update on the partnership and the integration between Principal Kat Atchison and Principal Josh Tovar. There might be some staff there, but we've taken away the typical meeting with students and the meeting with staff. It really is to provide an opportunity for the board to spend a couple hours learning about this integration into Othello High School. And so that was both Principal Atchison and Principal Tovar's request. So it is a little bit different, and we bumped it back to 9 because also on that day, Atchison and Tovar will be presenting to all secondary teachers at the high school during their PLC the plan for DOHS. It'll be a big day to update them.
Okay.
Okay?
Will it be more of like a round table
It'll,
type
yep,
situation? Perfect.
exactly. 9 o'clock at DOHS, and yeah, it'll be almost like a workshop, I guess you could expect.
Great. Okay. Moving on now to our vice president nominations. At this time, I will accept a nomination for vice president of the school board.
I'd like to nominate Ken Johnson for Vice President of the School Board.
I will second that. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Mrs.
Oh, sorry, roll call. Zaro. Yay or nay?
I said yay.
I know, I have to do a roll call instead of a all in favor, so,
Oh, really?
yeah. Zaro is a yay. Lindsay is a yay. Ken?
Yay.
Aaron?
Also yay.
Motion passes 4-0. Okay. Moving on to required approvals. At this time, I'll accept a motion to approve the required approvals.
I'll motion to approve the required approvals.
I will second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I didn't hear what you said. You said nay.
A, don't want to.
Okay, so 3, 4, and 1 opposed. At this time, I'll accept a motion to approve required approvals, early accounts payable warrants 2.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I will abstain. Motion passes 3-0. Now we will have our superintendent informational items. Take it away,
Ye-
Superintendent Perez.
Yeah, while the team comes forward who attended NSBA, I'll invite the student reps to the front as well. And while they're setting up, I do want to touch on the second item there, which is the printer purchase. You'll notice that we included a document. It doesn't require board approval, but we wanted to let you know that through collaboration with our teachers associations and our building principals and some maintenance issues we've been having around technology, we're making a large investment in updating printers for all of our teachers, and so just wanted you to be aware of that because it is a big ticket item, but doesn't require board approval, and so just, again, a piece of information for you.
Thank you.
Regarding NSBA, we have a slideshow that we've put together and talk a little bit about our experience in Atlanta. It was a wonderful opportunity to, I think, to have a shared learning experience and for me to learn a little bit about our student reps and the cool work that was happening across the country. And I know each of the board members has been to NSBA before, so a very similar experience. One of the cool things about the trip was it was held in the hotel and the convention center were all near Centennial Park. And in 1996, that's where the Summer Olympics were held. And so the park that celebrated that experience in Atlanta, we got a chance to walk through there every morning. Some mornings better than others. The walks were better and safer than others. But we made it through each day and made it back. But it reminded me the experience and the opportunity, something that George Juarez used to say, people, we have good people. I was really proud of our student reps and their level of engagement, the seriousness when it required, the ability to have fun and engage with adults. I was really, really impressed with them. And you all would have been proud of them if you had seen them in action. And I think you're going to be proud of them when they share what they learned on the trip. So we do have good people. I'm going to share briefly on 2 of the classes that I attended. This first one was on enhancing school safety. It was focused specifically on cyber threats, and it was put on by a particular agency from Department of Homeland Security. They were CISA, and they showed all their documents. Insurance in school districts has seen dramatic increases, particularly in cyber security. We had an attack last year. The Richland School District had a more public one recently, and they happen daily across the country. So it was nice to hear what's happening at the federal level to help protect school districts, what resources are available, and to recognize some of the good things that are happening in our school district, not only around cybersecurity, but about security in general. The left-hand side is an image from the Department of Homeland Security, who again was providing the content for this training. On the right is June of 2022. We had a presentation about security in the Othello School District at large, and it was a good reminder for me about the good work that's happening in the school district. How do you know things are safe? It's just everyone stays safe, right? And we haven't had these dramatic incidents, and much of it is due because we have good people, but also we have good systems. And you're going to hear a little bit from Amy later on some possible next steps or ways we can improve how we're keeping everyone safe. The next one I want to show with you is this image. We often talk about this, right? Alignment and this desire to have everyone intertwined, but this was a new twist on it for me that I really appreciated. One Clydesdale can pull about 8,000 pounds. And so you would think, well, 2 can pull 16, but actually in a coordinated way, if they're trained, they can pull 18. And then if they have the right gear and the right training, they can pull 32. And it reminded me that this isn't about just doing the same things with the same content and same curriculum. It's that our kids and our staff get better experiences if we work together as a team. And so it was a good reminder from the Bethel School District in Washington State. talking about systems alignment and leadership. And particularly enjoyed that session and that connection to the work we're doing here. And so now we're going to turn it over to the student reps and to Amy Suarez and to Will to talk about some of their experience. And then Marisa was there learning about boards and some other items of school district work, and so she'll share some of her experience as well.
All right, so this is my slide for the first one. The two classes that I took were around student-centered classrooms. I don't remember the full name, and then the other one was Rules to Engagement. That was the other one. The lady who had taught that, actually, her name is Principal Mo. She's from the Massachusetts area, I believe, and she has like an Instagram, and every day she dresses up in some kind of costume for her kids. It's really funny. But yeah, so some of the things that we already do is profile of a graduate. That was one of the bigger stressors in the student-centered classroom class. They talked about basically the kids, if they don't know what they're looking for, they don't know what they're coming to school for, there's no incentive. And this is one thing that I think we do well with, although kids may not know the profile of graduate is there for them. You know, if they look for it, they can find it. And that photo, you can't really see. Sorry, I thought it would be bigger up here. But that one, it's a kind of a wheel explaining each of the functions. And then on the right side, it shows like a detailed plan of basically not just we want you to know how to manage your relationships. We want you to know when you have a conflict, what are you going to do? When you have a problem at home, who can you come to at school with? If you have a problem at school, who can you go tell about that? And it kind of gives like a detailed explanation of what's going on at home and at school and how you can contribute all of that to be a successful student. You kind of all around, not just for someone who's in the classroom, but an all-around student. Another one is the plan and process, kind of what's in it for me. That's the student question. And then one question for us, I say, is how do we offer the education? This class in the Rules to Engagement talked about the 3 R's framework, which is a way to engage students to want to come to school, want to learn, and also like want to have some people don't value education. They say, oh, I have to go to school because my mom says so. Oh, I have to go to school because the state mandates me, something like that. And they talked about these 3 things: re-engaging, restoring, and rewarding. I know there was one school that gives kids money to come to school. I don't know if we can do that, but yeah, money, cash. So, cash to come to school. No, I'm joking. But yes, that was definitely a big spin for me. And I was like, wow, that's crazy that people can do that. But it was more on the focus of what can we do to reach out to the students, because I didn't put it up here, but it's kind of the kids these days type of mentality where, oh, nothing's the same, and they don't listen, they're always on the phone and all the things, and that mentality is not running us anywhere. And so this is what we needed to, this is, I think, a better option to take. You know, looking at re-engaging. Where did we lose them at? At what point are they checking out the classroom? Is it before they get there? Is it when they're tardy? Is it when the teacher's nagging at them for being tardy all the time? Me. And then restoring.
Even in Georgia.
Restoring, is that, like, how are we introducing them back? If people are off on discipline and stuff, are they just coming straight back to class, no question? Are they being berated with, okay, you're gonna come do this, this, and this? Are they sitting in, meetings for lunch attention? And then rewarding, it's good to want to have an incentive. It's good to have something to look forward to, not just, oh, I have to go, money, if we can, money. No, I'm joking. But yeah, so that's one thing I would like us to maybe focus on. And I think high school especially too, the kids, like now, spring break, after spring break, it's the drool falling out the mouth, So this system, hopefully we can start working on something like that to implement it. And then on the bottom is the implementation blueprint, staff support, and collaboration cohesion. Those are 2 of the big words that I like, collaboration and cohesion. Like, I really stress these out because if we're not on the same team, kind of like the Clydesdale horses, right? We can't all pull the same amount of weight, or we can't all be pulling different weights. We all can't be pulling in different directions. The framework for that, the framework they gave us was adult engagement. Audit engagement, making sure that we're going to the classrooms, making sure that we're understanding, okay, you have to do this, you have to do this, you do this. For elementary students, it may not look all the same, but make sure that kind of how we had the report the other day where they came and showed us, okay, in my classroom, we're going to follow this kind of system. This is how it evolves when it goes to the next one. And we keep going back and referencing, like, okay, what went well, what doesn't. The staff and the 3 R's, obviously the re-engage, restore and reward. Launch a pilot challenge. Obviously, this one was also money involved, where they paid the teachers to whichever class was most successful. Obviously, we can't get that, but something close to it. And then measure, reflect, and revise. What went well? What do we need to fix? And also, where are we doing well in? Because I feel like if we stress all the time too about the negative, then we lose kind of the angst or the drive to want to try to do new things. Next one. And then this is Atlanta for me. Thank you guys again for letting me go. That was so much fun. You guys missed out. Like, it was really fun. These are some photos right here. The top left is Atlanta. That was in Little Five Points, a little neighborhood with a great shop there. Underneath that is the best pecan pie I've had in my life. Me and Marisa tore that up. Very good. It was so good. This is a salmon pasta we had, and we also had a little bet there. I was trying to guess what the waiters, where she was from based on her accent, and I was wrong. Lily got it. She was from Venezuela. That's a city skyline photo from, we had went to, oh my gosh, what's the ice cream place? Jenny's, yes. We went to Jenny's Ice Cream, and it was like this kind of storefront type of thing. But then if you walked further into it, there was like a hotel, there was like a restaurant below us, and then there was a bunch of shops on the side. So we walked out and we saw that nice skyline there. Above that is us all at the Centennial Park. And then on the right there was Dr. Martin Luther King's niece, Celeste Beale.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was all by accident too. Like, we all stumbled into, we went to the church that he pastored, and it happened to be April 4th, which is his death date. So it's having a memorial for him, and she was there.
Wow.
Very, very interesting. The next one is my 70s outfit there. My mom said no. I called her wearing that whole get up there, and she said, Marisa, take my kid back home. The one on the right is Fellini's Pizza. Now, it was huge. I don't have a photo with the comparison, but like my hand could fit 3 times on the food there.
Wow.
15 minutes, I took it down. It was very good. The bottom one is Will's senior photo. Mr. Von Brock Senior. No, this is Mr. Von Brock senior photo. Sorry, he's wearing a jumpsuit there in one of the stores we were at. And then that's us before on the plane going to Georgia, moments before disaster.
This is my side of Georgia. This was my first time ever on a plane, so I did not know what to expect. Miles and Isabel sat right next to me. I told them, whatever happens, be careful. I will vomit. And turns out I instead started crying because, Miles, thank you. Well, that was my first time ever flying. It was a great experience. I was able to have people there who were able to take care of me. We went to this what was it? The barbecue place. Amazing food, loved it. I only had fries, but it was good. Then the same picture as Miles, the Centennial Park, and then me and Isabel got matching shirts. Same with Sister Amy. There's a background story to that. And then we were able to go on a Ferris wheel, do fun stuff like that. Again, the pizza. I was just so thankful to be able to go to Georgia. My first time traveling out of the state. I was so grateful to be able to experience it with these people. I was able to create a connection with them and be able to say that the district definitely has good people to have their hands on. Yeah. Okay, so one session that stood out to me was Achieving Greatness Together Through Student Leadership from the Pendergrass 8th Grade Superintendent Student Council. They have 12 schools in their district, I guess. There's 2 per each school, and what they do is like they go to the same process as the student board members. They get an interview, they apply for it, they do all of that, and they get hired by them. So they are, before getting into that, well, once they're like hired and everything, they get trained as leaders and they are able to do stuff like volunteering and fundraising. They go to field trips and leadership stuff. So, sorry. So before they do all that, they want to make sure that they're hiring the right people. So they go through this thing called CHOP. So they're put into a kitchen and they're putting it all together to work together as a team, see how they would react, because if they go on field trips, they're gonna stay in a hotel. So they put them in this room and be like, okay, you guys are gonna be handling that. We want to see how you guys work together. That's basically what they do, and I thought that was very cool. Like something like this, I was like, wow, that's such a good thing. They also have this portrait of a graduate, which is technology skills, character, career success skills, communication, problem solver, collaborator. All of these are what a graduate has at their school. Something else that the student council does is that they do pillows for kiddos. So they ask the community for fabrics, pieces of fabric, so that they're able to create pillows for the kids. And inside the pillows, I don't have pictures. Oh, they are. You just can't see them. But inside the pillows, there's like a book in there, so that they go into like kindergarten classrooms and they read to them, and gifting that to them. I thought that was so cool. Be able to 8th graders be able to go read to kindergartners. And these are only 8th graders. When they were presented by this 8th grade student council, if you guys saw the way they spoke with confidence, I was like, these are only 8th graders. I can imagine once they get to high school. I thought whatever program they're using, which is this, super helpful. Yeah. And then the next one I went to was the Classrooms of the Future for Multilingual Learners from Artesia High School's Journey. I think this one's California school. Yeah. So they're 95% graduation rate. So these are some statistics about their school. Most of them, I think 100% of their seniors apply to at least a college. Wow. Yeah, so their school is very avid focused. So they do the core note taking, all of that, even though we hate it. It's really helpful according to them. As a matter of fact, I was taking core notes in that exact same session. So something that their school does is that they have, I'm not necessarily sure who they said, but they have some people go into their classrooms and have like this classroom observation tool where they have like this checklist and they check off things that they're doing so that to make sure that they're on pace or they're on track, they know what they're doing. Their school is a student-driven 4x4 schedule, so I don't remember how that went, but I think they have like 3 periods each day, or I think it's 4 periods each day, 4 periods each day. Yeah, and there's like intervention in EE, and the second day I think where they like help them a little bit more with whatever they need. Their school is very diverse, as you guys can see. There's 76% Hispanics, 7.8% Filipinos, 6.1% African Americans. It's very diverse, so that's why they have this program called the Newcomers Program. If you're able to click on it, you guys will see a video of how they use AI, how they integrated that into their school, and how it's like actually successful to them. There's I think she's in Spain.
Hi, my name is Ebony Bautista. I'm 70 years old and I am 11th grader at Artesia High School. I arrived to the United States about 2 years ago from Guatemala, not speaking any English, although I initially struggled in adapting to the new culture, language, and school system. The usage of technology and AI really helped accelerate my English and development my strengthened academic skills. My goal now is to go to a 4-year university and study electrical engineer. Technology is very essential. We use our Chromebooks for almost everything. It's a way easier to access information quickly, like looking up definitions or finding different perspectives on a topic online. AI tools like Grammarly or even some search engines can help us check our writing and understand concepts better by giving us different ways to explain things. Technology allowed us to dig deeper into topics that were really interesting and find more diverse viewpoints. Plus, online platforms for turning in assignments like Google Classroom and seeing my grades on areas make things much more organized.
All right, class, listen up. So what we have going on today is in conjunction with the academic chats paper where you're supposed to be speaking about your classes, you are going to chat with AI about the subjects that you struggle with. Las clases con las que batallan, ¿verdad? Van a tener una conversación con la inteligencia artificial. And so when you are there, and I noticed that a lot of you are there already, it's going to give me a report of the conversation. So on the left-hand side, you're going to see your name. Van a ver su nombre. And then over here, it's going to give me a report of how the conversation is going. Me va a decir cómo va la conversación. And over here, it's going to give me your name and details y detalles sobre la conversación, about your conversation. So, for example, por ejemplo, vemos que Jesús está hablando sobre sus aspiraciones del futuro, about his aspirations, how he may want to be president someday. ¿Ah? Tenemos a Madeline que expresó que tiene el deseo, she has the desire to know more when it comes to her math class. Yair is balancing chores at home and schoolwork, está indicando que a lo mejor tiene un poco de estrés. Maybe he has a little bit of stress, right? Maybe. All right, so this thing is reading into it, está leyendo su conversación, and it's motivating you to read, to speak more English. ¿Verdad? Lo está motivando a hablar un poco más de inglés. Esa es la tirada, ¿verdad? Para expresarse mejor, so you can express yourself a little bit better, and let us know where you need help.
Okay, so that was their AI tool. They use a lot of AI at their school, and I thought that was very helpful for, especially for our newcomers at the Othello High School. Maybe there's some in elementary. I feel like this would be very useful to those who cannot speak English properly. Something cool that also stood out to me was the AI by modifier. So what that means is that a teacher can give an assignment made by AI, but they modify it themselves, or it goes vice versa. They make the paper or the assignment, and they use AI to go over it and just do whatever needs to be done. Oh, and I also really like their motto, which is do what's right for kids. So whatever they do at their school, it's all for kids. Yeah.
Okay, so this one was my slide. One of the things I think that we do good is, like you see over here, it says like for mentoring, it says we improve, we develop, train, motivate, coach, and inspire. I think a lot of teachers at OHS do that a lot, and that's something that we already do. And also leadership skills, like all those words over there on the right. And one that I found interesting was, I went to this one session about attendance, and a statistic that stood out to me was in 2023, 1 in 3 kids were absent. They didn't show up to school. And I found that interesting because I wanted to know like why. It was like the same class he went to, and it was because, you know, students felt like they didn't belong in the school, or they felt that no teacher liked them, so they felt like, what's the point of showing up if I don't feel I belong? So one strategy on how to make students feel they belong was, the lady said to get like all teachers and to put all students' faces like just on a wall, and like look at which ones like you feel you have a relationship with or a connection with. And the students that are left out, the ones the teachers don't have a relationship with, they focus more on them because they are most likely to be the ones that are absent all the time, and to make them feel like they do belong. And like one of them was the modern reward system. That was the one who was talking about like money, and you get Nike kicks for like showing up. And the way we measure the attendance data and the participation trends and the student surveys. And for teachers also to not take it personally if students don't understand what the subject is that they are learning. So for example, the lady, she had a student who didn't know how to read. Like even though they're already in high school, that's something you should like learn in like kindergarten already, like once you start school. So what the teacher saw in the student was like they stood up from themselves because they felt, because the student naturally would just be embarrassed to say like, oh, I can't read and I'm in high school. But the teacher saw courage in the student to speak out from themselves, be like, oh my gosh, I can't read, so I'm not learning anything. So the teacher didn't take that personally and be like, oh my gosh, you should have learned this a long time ago. No, the teacher actually helped it and didn't take it personally like, oh my gosh. And yeah, it's kind of Miles already went over it about like the reward system and the attendance, yeah. Oh, and yes, this was my experience. The one on the airplane, that was moments before disaster. I threw up 3 times going to Atlanta, Georgia.
No.
Miles really took good care of her.
He threw away all my throw up in the back because I felt very dizzy and nauseous, and I just kept throwing up. And then, but the food over there was really good. Like as you can see, that was a salmon sandwich, and with the fries, that was a bomb. That was so good. And then over there on the top right, the lady with the green dress, that was Celeste Beal, Dr. Martin Luther King's niece. That was a crazy experience. Like, I can't believe we were there in that moment of time. And then the Ferris wheel and a pretty picture of the skyline.
Had you flown before this trip?
Yes, I have. I never get car sick. So this was like the first time I've ever thrown up.
Oh,
over
wow.
Motion sickness.
Wow, wow.
Okay, this is one of the sessions that I went to. It's when student and staff speech collide with anti-discrimination laws. This session was led by a attorney from New York State. Personally, I find sessions facilitated by legal counsel especially valuable as they often include real-world examples of legal challenges from across the country. This particular presentation highlighted a range of cases involving student and staff speech, especially on social media, and explored how courts have interpreted First Amendment protections in those contexts. It also addressed cases related to gender identity and the rights of transgender students and staff. Another example discussed was the Bremerton School District case, which centered around a high school football coach's right to pray on the field and raised important questions about the separation of church and state. Let's see. So when I attend these board conferences, I try to attend these sessions in the Ready, Set, Govern series because it's completely focused on board meetings and the school board. And this one specifically was regarding roles and responsibilities for the board. It really emphasized the difference between governance, which is what the board does, and management, which is what the superintendent does. It highlighted the importance of acting as a team, where the board speaks with one voice and works collaboratively with the superintendent. It stressed the need for clear communication, respecting the chain of command, and no surprises at meetings. It reminded us that the individual board members don't have authority. The decisions are made collectively. And then encourage practices like strategic planning, self-evaluations, superintendent eval to keep governance strong and focused. So this was all just really good reminders. I feel like we do it already. So let's see. So this one was on increasing engagement with school boards, state associations, and beyond. One of the questions that it asked, which I thought was super interesting, was how do you as a school board engage students in your district? So, you know, that was like a turn and talk kind of thing, what happens in your district. And I feel like these are the things that we do for you guys to engage with the kids. But the photo there, I thought it had some really good prompts, because sometimes we go to those cookies and convos and we're just like, hey, you know, what questions do you have? But it has some really good prompts, because what they do at theirs is they do have student roundtables actually with the kids. The school board sits down with them, and then they have these prompts. It says, what are the biggest successes in your schools? What are the biggest issues impacting your school? How can school districts support you to help solve these issues? And then the closing reflection, it says, what's a piece of advice you have for us as school board members? And what's a piece of advice you have for us as current youth leaders? So anyways, just thought it was super interesting.
Okay, so I went to, with Isabella, we went to the Women in Leadership and Wellness. It was a really good session. It was by two superintendents and a former one. And they just talked about how important it is to have a mentor, you know, especially when you're women, to have mentorship. And I feel like that really spoke to me, because I feel like we were being mentors to some really young women that are going to go places. She said we need to make sure that we model wellness, happiness, you know, that's important for us to not get so involved in our work that we forget about that we have to take care of ourselves. something that you heard in every, seems like in every class that you went to was mental health, and not only for the students, but for your employees and the families. So one of the to-do lists, if you want to go to the next one, that, oh, and of course, I had to get a cute picture of them. I blew it up because why not? They organized a Cook Center for Human Connection. This is totally anonymous, and it's, we have the link where families can go and have a whole bunch of information on anxiety, self-harm, and grief. The superintendent there said that they pay for a portion of it. The one that isn't free is a parent coaching, where a parent can go on and ask a whole bunch of questions, and they actually have a coach. She said it's well worth the money that they spend because they see a big improvement in the behavior of their students. So that's something that I think that we should look into. They didn't go into cost because it's all based on the number of students and where you're located. But if anybody wants to go into that link right now, they would be able to go on there, and there's a whole bunch of information that families can go. And I think it's something that we should be able to, when we, the counselors see a student that's struggling or a family, give them that link. And then I went to another one that was called Building the Safest Schools for Children. A very passionate Edward Salina said that he had one of the safest schools. Was that him? Anyways, and he said that there's a whole bunch of layers in security. You have the layered security where you're going to make sure that there's trust between the administration, the board, the community, that's very important. You have to have the collaboration of your community. You need to have strong partnerships with the enforcement and the hospitals. Innovation with technology, it's always changing. That just because we have something in place now doesn't mean that there's not going to be something better, more helpful in a year or two, that we shouldn't just be stuck on one type of security. And then so what they were saying was they have these lanyards that have buttons in them, and if every employee has one, and they press the button, and you get immediate connection to the police department, and they know exactly where you're at, and they can follow you, and it's something that we want to explore. So they're worn like regular IDs. They have immediate law enforcement alert. They triggers a lockdown. They pinpoint the exact location. And then why we're exploring this is it improves emergency response. There was two fathers there from the Parkland shooting, and they said, they were very passionate, and they said, our school board failed us. My daughter is dead because nobody did enough to protect my child. And I think there was a quote in the slide before where the previous slide, Marty? Don't wait until a tragedy strikes. Build safety into your culture, policies, and funding priorities. Like they said, no, even the safest schools are not really safe. So one of our to-do lists is, and I got the information, is to start looking into how much this is going to cost and move forward with it.
Could
Do
we
a
get a
presentation.
follow-up with that in a couple of months to talk about where we're at with safety?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the connections to this, and the reason Amy was able to attend this session, is in Washington State, the Senator Torres from Pasco has put forward, or not Senator, she must be Representative Torres, has put forward consideration for 4 ways for school district to meet a safety standard, and this is one of them. I believe we have at least one of the other measures already in place, so we wouldn't have to make an additional investment, but we definitely want to chase this one down a little bit and see if it makes sense for us.
I also have, I didn't put it on here, but I also have a slide. We had to take pictures of all our slides because they didn't provide them, of a whole bunch of links of where we could possibly get some grant money. So I'll
Okay.
be looking into those as well.
Great.
before I jump into mine, I just want to make sure that everybody's clear that if we start paying students to be on time, Miles owes us money. So it might be a good deal. I'm just really summarizing a few things because a lot of this has already gotten hit on, but a couple of sessions that I went to that I titled Systems for Excellence. I went to a governance session, and then I also went to the Artesia High School with Lily, which was really positive. From the Systems of Excellence, something I think we know and I think we practice in this district, but I think it's really important to just reiterate is that process and knowing and understanding our roles. So how the superintendent kind of works between two groups. They set the vision and really work in that strategic zone with the board. And then the superintendent has to flop over and work with staff to operationalize those things. So just thinking through that way. And kind of where we're at in a position with our strategic plan, the way they talked about the strategic plan is we've gone through that process and we're working on getting that operationalized and in there, is they asked this question: does that strategic plan have a cadence in our meetings? In the sense of, I know we had like a mid-year check-in on that, but like how does it keep coming back? How does it keep coming, and how are we talking through that, and how does it keep coming up in our meetings and have that? I thought that cadence word was really, really powerful. So that gave me a lot to think about as I considered our relationship and the work that the board is doing with the superintendent and operationalizing those things for kids and making sure that it's getting down there. And I think Artesia High School was a really, really good example of that at a school level, as Lily showed very similar demographics to our high school. They were one high school in a district with several high schools, but their specific high school, they used to be kind of that high school that was low achieving, that nobody wanted to be a part of, that nobody wants to, and now they're to the point where when staff complain about some of the hard work they're doing, they say, remember, this is how we get kids, because they're like a magnet school. Everybody's transferring in. And some of those statistics, you see that they're very similar demographic to ours, very similar poverty rates, similar minority rates, similar multilingual learner percentages. But that one that stood out to me, 100% of their kids apply to college. It's just what you do. We're going to take you through this and you're going to apply. But they had graduation rates moved up to like 96%, and 98% of those kids that graduate went on to post-secondary, whether that was a trade or a college. So really, really powerful things, and it's just was based fully on that culture. And then all students were expected to take advanced coursework. It's just what you do. You work toward that advanced coursework, you're going to be in there and pushing. So it's really what we see in AVID, but it's pushed school-wide. And then, like she demonstrated, AI was seen as a tool to be taught, not feared. So how are we going to teach kids to use this? Because it's reality. It's part of their lives. If we're constantly pushing it away and trying to tell kids to stay away, then they're going to go do it and they're going to learn it on their own, and they're probably going to use it not wisely. Whereas if we can do things, I thought that example that we saw in the video where that teacher said, hey, what you're going to turn in is your conversation with AI. Show me how you're using this. I thought of it like AVID tutorials, right? You guys go in with your peers. Well, how do you use AI in a similar way when you're stuck and you're by yourself? What a great tool to have when you go on to college and university, if that's what we're pushing our kids towards. And then, like she said, the other way is they put that there's like a little watermark that they'll put at the bottom of their assignments and say, hey, this was created by AI. And modified by me, or the other way around. I created it, but I used AI to revise it and modify it. So really, really powerful stuff there. That's just all about a system of excellence and what can happen when a staff comes together and says, we want really, really good things for kids with that commitment. So that was really, really exciting. And then the second kind of strand that I was in, I had a couple of sessions that I thought focused really on stakeholders. So the first one was community. Pete and I went to this one that was titled Partners, Not Clients. So not looking at our families and our community as a client, but as a partner with us. They had trained several staff members. They were district office staff members to be FACE specialists, which is family and community engagement specialists. And they said they spent a whole year just training these 4 individuals. They would go out, you think about like our fair, they would be the people at the booth, they would be there doing stuff, and they were really there to gather, to engage with community and do that. And then the next phase, that next year, was to start training each individual school staff on some of the things that they had learned. How do you engage with the families? How do you keep them in? regularly occurring messaging. Once they got it to the school level, that was a principal, like an actual robocall every week, just celebrating and giving announcements and things like that I thought of for my school that I thought were really, really cool. And then just using their resources and money wisely to create, I think as you combine it with some of these other things, like these parenting specialists and things like that, they would dedicate spaces in their buildings where people could come and access those resources and engage, and GED classes in the evening. And I think of some of the 21st century grants and things that we're working on right now. I think there's some ways to incorporate that in there and have our spaces more open. And then when it comes to our student reps, like Pete said, we just got to know these three really well, and it was really, really awesome. And I went to a session that just asked us, like, hey, how are we empowering these three to make change, to do some things? Do we hear from them on complex issues? You know, even some of these issues that we've talked about, do we take time to say, hey, we need to hear from you guys. We're here for you. So let's hear from you. What do you think on this? What are your perspectives? And do we take that time, even though they're not voting members? We did hear from a state that they are voting members, like full vote, which was really, really interesting. But they were reminded that that's illegal in our state, and that we can't do that. And then the other thing that I thought of, these three are really, really excited. They're go-getters. They have a ton of skills. Do we facilitate for them to maybe in the beginning of a school year or something identify, hey, what's your project for the year? Lily showed, she didn't talk about it, but that school in Artesia had an end of year, I'm going to college dinner that was like a really prized, and Lily said, that was awesome. And I said, then do it, right? Like go get it. So how do we work with our student reps throughout the future and just say, hey, what's your project? What are you going to get done, right? Not just show up and give a quick board report, but what can you accomplish? And I think they've got the ability to do it. So, yeah, really, really exciting and cool to hang out with them. And then, yep, just a shout out, kind of going full circle. We were there in the Olympic Park, so we got these three on the podium, and these three really did earn their medals. They were awesome. They did good work. One of them was the winner because she showed up on time and didn't throw up in the airplane. But they all medaled. You know, they all medaled. She cried, but she got through it. And it was her preparation. She brought motion sickness medicine. She was well prepared. She was great. But no, all three of these three we're in good hands in our future. And I know we have awesome students here in Othello. And that's who all of this work is for. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to spend a few days with them and get to know them better and to think about our systems in this way. So, yeah.
Just the last slide there, I think, again, tying it back to the value of collaborative learning. That's the motto for, the translated motto for the Olympics, faster, higher, stronger, and they've recently added together. And we had an opportunity in one of the keynotes to hear from Melissa Stockwell, who was the first female amputee in the war in Iraq and lost her leg and then turned into this tremendous world-class para-Olympian. And so having her there to kind of tie in the message about, her book was about choice, the power of choice, and the choices we all make in our lives, and the choice she made that day that cost her limb. And it was a powerful message for us and a good reminder about the Olympic spirit, right, and the kind of work that we do. One other thing about the images of because I thought with this, I didn't see the student images. I didn't look too closely at the slides before they put them in there, like their own experience. And it's one thing to talk about the food, right, the kinds of things we ate. What was really cool for me, and it's one of the reasons I love education so much, is the energy and enthusiasm of students, of young people. Like, to fly that far for 3 days, I was pretty exhausted, and it took me about a week to recover, right? They were ready to go the next day. But the energy that you feel in the car and at lunch or dinner, we talked about issues of race. We talked about school choice. We talked about worldview. Just a number of things that is so interesting to learn from our kids and to hear them talk about the experience that they're having in our schools, and that makes it so valuable as well. So thankful for the board for, it was a little different not having board members there, but still I think a valuable experience, and didn't want them to miss out on that, and a good opportunity for us to continue to connect with people from across the country. And I think maybe one day we'll be presenting at NSBA as well. Don't know if you have any questions for the crew or thoughts you'd like to share.
I just wanted to say thank you for your presentation. I loved it. I'm so sad that I missed it because it is such a great opportunity for the board to especially be with the student reps and for us to spend time together. So I apologize that none of us were able to make it because that was just an opportunity missed by us. So I apologize for that. You all did a great job filling us in on all of the things that you learned, and I'm excited to hopefully implement some of those things into our district, and definitely going out of this meeting reflective. A lot of what Will said really was like, you know, how can we help you as student reps? What are we doing to answer all of those questions that, so I'll be doing some reflecting over the next few days and hopefully come up with some ways that we can be a little bit more supportive of our student reps, because you guys really are awesome. And anytime people get frustrated and say kids these days, right? Mike, if you spend some time with kids these days, you'll feel really good about where we're headed, because we have great, great students. And I'm really proud of you guys. So thank you for filling us in.
Thank you.
I think for me, it was not the chance to be able to go, but last year when we were able to go, you guys hit it on the nail. It was a bonding, because none of us had ever gone and got together, and so it was kind of cool. We got to see Miles at 3 in the morning when they kicked him out for a fire drill. He does make it when there's a bell that rings.
Yep.
He absolutely does.
He was late, but
Thank
it's okay.
you.
He wasn't late for that one,
I'm
but
kidding.
no, and I'm very grateful to have an experience of doing something and going somewhere that you might not have gotten a chance to do, and doing it with the people that you did, because as much fun as you guys had, we also know what kind of crew. Marisa, the babysitter, she did an amazing thing last year. I imagine she was like a mom to everybody else. And then with her sister there, I was gonna sit there and say, and Pete, I think you picked a good group to go with you when we weren't able to. So thank you. Thank you guys for the update.
Yeah, I'd also want to say thank you to Sister Amy for protecting Isabella and Liliana, being our shelter. Thank you for Marisa for my professional photography. Always.
She knows how to get all the angles.
Every angle. Yes. She's on retainer for me.
Miles, you ought to see Aaron. Aaron's got some good pictures too.
That's true. Okay, anything else, Superintendent?
No, I guess maybe 2 quick stories. You would have been really proud when we were in the first keynote with Stockwell, and there were probably 2,500 people there, and music was playing, and Miles got up and danced with this mid-60s woman who was there helping as an usher. But the joy on her face and the joy of the people who got to see that and film just this 30-second interaction was really magical. And you would have been proud of Miles and the interaction that he had with her and the joy that he brought to people in that moment. And then one of the meals we had in particular at the end, it was really the weather, there was tornado warnings, it was raining, and we went into a Mexican restaurant near the airport, and it was very, very crowded, very, very busy, and you could tell how much the waitress appreciated Liliana's interactions with her in Spanish, and so much so that at the end of the meal, she gave her a free dessert, but you could tell that there was a human personal connection between Miles and the person he danced with, and between her and this person who was there to serve us. And so again, apart from what we went to learn and all the time and expense for the experience, seeing our kids do those things in a different setting was really, really cool, and really proud of all 3 of them for attending and participating. And like I have been along the way, the board always picks really good student reps, and so I want to thank them and their families for trusting us to let them travel, and finish up by thanking the board for letting them make the trip.
Another one too. Isabel, congrats to her. She made it on the way back with the flying colors. Yes.
No throwing up. That's great. Well, thank you guys so much. Appreciate your recap. Thank you. We will be moving on to item E1, policy review. We don't have anything to vote on, do we, Mari?
No.
Just review that and keep it in your mind, and we'll be approving that next board meeting. Do we have any public comment? Nope. Okay, we will move on to upcoming events. April 21st, we have our DOHS site visit at 9 a.m. And then April 28th, we have our regular scheduled board meeting at 7 p.m. And that will be our last board meeting at 7 p.m. for the next couple of months. We'll then be moving to 1 p.m.? Question mark? 1? Okay.
So we still have one more meeting at 7 p.m. at the end of this month. Does anybody have anything to add to that? To our schedule? Okay. We will move on to the board self-assessment of the meeting. I'll kick us off with a really well-planned agenda. It was great, start to finish, and the superintendent report with the student reps, and Will and Sister Amy, 10 out of 10. Great.
I also appreciated all the strays, Mr. Von Bracht. Very good.
I do want to echo gratitude for the presentation. We were all sad to not be able to go, but glad that you all learned from it and excited to see what we can implement from that, from what you brought back.
Miles had a great time trying on clothes. He stayed in the store for like a whole hour trying on clothes.
Were you in a Goodwill or a thrift store, or where'd you find that outfit?
It was oh my gosh, no, Vintage Warehouse. And if I could, I would have left with the entire store. It was the
But his
best thing
mom
ever.
said no.
Yeah, we had went to another vintage store before that, in the same night. No, the night before. And this guy, he was like, "Oh, I'm a stylist. I'm a celebrity stylist. Whatever." Came up to me and gave me this like patched up jacket. It had like camo on it, but it was like a suit vest. And Pete said I look like, what did he say? It looks like rags or something. And then I called my mom and she said, no.
Well, Miles, I appreciate the Will's graduation picture. That was amazing. Didn't know you looked like Kid Rock. We'd like to blow that up. If that could make it into the yearbook, that'd be great.
Yeah. I would have to say a delta for me is that we're still short a board member. I know that's out of our control, but it's always nice to have a full board of 5. Anything else? Okay. Oh, sorry.
For me, it's on the upcoming. Pete, can we get an update on graduation for this year? Just seems like it's getting a little closer and closer. I seen something was put out on the
Those schools.
yeah, I think there was. But if we could get an update, it'd be great.
We'll plan on doing a superintendent informational items on the 28th, but I would encourage you on the 21st when we're meeting with Tovar and Atchison, bring some questions there that maybe the public won't see at that moment, but that we could prepare to follow up on the 28th. So if you have questions, don't wait until then, but bring them.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. At this time, we will adjourn to an executive session for 60 minutes to discuss potential litigation and the performance of a public employee. No action will be taken following the executive session. This meeting is adjourned.